What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly sports history for September 26, 2023. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. It is Tuesday, time for a little bit of motivation / positivity. It is also Victory Tuesday. More on that in a little bit. But first, for our motivation for the week, and I mentioned him before. I follow a guy, Michael Sombert. He runs a company, Rebel Culture, which is a leadership development, leadership training, leadership coaching thing that he does. I met him through a teacher coaching thing. He used to work at Mastery Charter Schools in Philadelphia. So just knew a lot of the same people and everything. Either way, I highly suggest you do this. And I'm not getting paid for this at all. So check out Rebel Culture. But he sends like a weekly email newsletter. And there's always like a theme on it. And the one from last week really kind of stuck with me. And he talked a little bit about how much time we spend in our downtime watching TV or scrolling on our phones, looking at social media and things like that, when we could be working toward achieving goals, achieving dreams and things like that. And he used the word maniacal. He said, get maniacal about what you're trying to do and what you're trying to accomplish. And that really resonated with me because for years I was originally started trying to write a book and got maniacal about it and then hit writer's block and sort of backed off a little bit, which ultimately led to the podcast. But the podcast really should have started probably 6 to 8 months before it did. I just, again, drug my feet and wasn't maniacal about it. But now that I've started it, I really do. I put in 2 to 5 hours a day prepping and between recording and everything like that with it. So it really, I think, and I think it shows, like we've been able to grow this to where it is. And I think that's relevant in any aspect of your life. I do it now, try to do it when I'm with my kids. Like I try to be all in on that. If I'm hanging out with my wife, all in on that. And I think it is tough to sort of budget that time out, but I think you just need to get maniacal and maximize your time. And if you are putting off doing something, go and don't put it off. Go do it. But I thought that word really stuck with me about getting maniacal with it and kind of shifted my thinking with work as well and trying to go all in on certain things like that. So get maniacal with it and just put your head and just eliminate distractions. Sometimes it's okay to veg out. Sometimes you need that, but sometimes you just manage your time and really, like I said, dive in and get maniacal with it. But again, check him out, Michael Sonberg at Rebel Culture. Again, I don't get paid. It's not a partnership. It's just somebody that I follow that I think a lot of people could benefit from reading his stuff. All right, so good win, 25-11. I saw some glimpses of things, specifically with the offense that I'd like to see. I saw some Jalen Hurts going back to the old Jalen Hurts from last year. Read this morning that he may have had the flu or he was sick and not feeling feeling great. He was feeling under the weather. So that might explain some of the certain things. But I think, like I said, like I started to see the glimpses and the confidence. It was almost like I'm not sure what it was. He just seemed off. And I have noticed, though, one thing is concerning, that the past couple games I've seen, like, they're not necessarily on the same page with the receiver with routes and things like that. So that's something worth monitoring, but I think it was a good get-right spot for them. The defense balled out. The defensive line is going to be troubled. Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter are just going to be absolutely insane. Just the way, like, every time they're in there, you just see them pushing the line completely up. So I like what I saw. The special teams finally look good. I know Brick Covey, the one point on the long return, I was screaming, why are you not letting that go into the end zone? And then takes it 50-some yards, so I stand corrected with that. But overall, I think good solid win, 3-0, and they still far from playing their best football. So I like where this team is heading. Tough game against Washington this week. It's a division game. They should be able to handle it, but we'll get more into that as we get closer to Sunday. We did go 1-1 on our bets. We got the -5, but lost the over 45. And I didn't necessarily expect the dominating of a performance with the defense as I saw. So it's one of those bets we lost, but I'll take it. And that brings our record to 3-2 now on the year. So if you're tailing, we're slightly up. We're not a lot, but we're up. But why don't you celebrate the Eagles' win by going to phillygoat.com, picking out some of those awesome Kelly Green jerseys, or T-shirts, I should say. The Phillies could clinch a playoff spot as early as tonight. Get your postseason Phillies gear there. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off of your order. Flyers opened up preseason last night with a loss. Get some Flyers gear. Like I said, now is the time to get on that bandwagon. Do not wait. They got actually shut out 6-0, I believe it was, against the Devils. So not a good preseason start. But again, it's preseason. It doesn't count. They have a young team. They're putting things out there. Go to Philly Goat. Get the Flyers gear. I'm telling you, it's going to be worth it. Use that promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off of your order. We'll get more, I'm sure, as the season goes. There's going to be more postseason shirts. I told you about the Hunt for Red October. That shirt is phenomenal. So go check out phillygoat.com. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off of your order. Also, check out the Clashing Conferences podcast. It's basically a group of guys who represent their NFC East teams in a sort of around the horn type format. Nobody in the NFC East won except for the Eagles. So it should be an interesting day on the podcast this week. Look for that to drop around Thursday, anywhere you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. All right, Phils. They can clinch with a win. If they win, magic number to clinch a playoff spot is 1. They could also clinch that top seed tonight if they win and the Cubs or Brewers lose. Basically, the reason why that magic number is a little bit different is because theoretically the Cubs can still win the division, but I think the Brewers have to lose out and the Cubs have to win out. So I think no matter what happens, if one of those teams loses, that means that the Phillies will finish with a better record than them and they can go from there. So hopefully, let's root for. We got to technically, I guess, root for the Braves against the Cubs. I'm not sure who the Brewers are playing. However, they can clinch that number 1 seed as well as a playoff spot tonight. Would love to see it. We're only 2 games away from winning that over 88.5 win total bet. And I did mention that this is turning into a special season for the Phils. And with 1 win, out of the last 6 games, they can have anywhere from being tied for the 10th best record in Phillies history, and if they win out, they could get up to the 5th most win totals. It's a couple ties. They're not going to get to the 102s or the 101s, but they could get into the top 5 all time for Phillies teams with wins. So it is turning into a special season, and it's pretty cool. All right, one more Phils coverage. 6 games left before this offer expires. Go to 2008 Phils. The information is in the description. 75% off a subscription, and it gets you access to everything they have on their site. The 2008 championship banner shirt. 2008 Phils will follow your Twitter account. You get access to autographs, tickets, other giveaways. I told you about the pretty cool powder blue 1980 championship banner shirt. All for $2 a month, $20 for the year. Definitely worth it, especially with the postseason coming up. But this offer expires at the end of the regular season, so you have 6 games left. I don't know if they... Let's see. Yeah, there are no days off. So 6 days left to claim this 75% off subscription exclusively for this day in Philly sports history. Listeners, okay, we're going to stick with the Phils today, and we're going to go back to September 26, 1971. The Phillies swept the Expos in a doubleheader 4-1 and 2-1 in what would become the last games played at Jarry Park in Montreal. They would later, then following season, move into Olympic Stadium. In Game 1, Greg, and I'm sorry, we're not going to 1971. We're going to 1976. Can't even read my own writing. 1976. But on this day in 1976, the Phils beat the Expos in 2 games in the last games at Jarry Park before moving into Olympic Stadium. Game 1, Greg Luzinski hit a 3-run homer. Jim Lomberg pitched a complete game 4-hitter, gave up 1 earned run, and helped the Phillies clinch their first ever NL East championship. The NL East, the old school one that was from the 1969 to 1993. The Phillies won the second most divisions during that time with 6. If you're keeping score at home, the Pirates won 9. Also in that 1976 season, the Phils did win 101 games, which stood as the high watermark until the 2011 Phils won 102 games. But on this day back in 1976, the Phillies clinched their first ever division title by sweeping the Expos at Jarry Park in the final games of that stadium's history. They would go on to lose that year to the Big Red Machine in the NLCS. But they won their first one on this day back in 1976. All right, time for Who Wore It Best. And yesterday we did number 11. I think the biggest surprise here was J-Roll didn't win 100% of the vote. There was a little bit of amount of love for Norm Van Brocklin, so J-Roll won with 83% of the vote. Again, no surprise that he won. I do think it's surprising that Norm Van Brocklin got as big of a chunk of the vote as he did. But today we're going to go to number 24, and currently in Philly, number 24, James Bradbury wears number 24, and Nick Seeler for the Flyers wears number 24. Other notables are Terry Murray, Derek Smith, Carl Dykhouse, Sammy Kapanen, remember him? Matt Reed, Wally Jones. Darius Slade Jr. did wear number 24 his first year before they switched the rules and he switched to number 2. Remember Namdi and Blaine Bishop, back-to-back horrible secondary pickups by the Eagles. Rod Smart, yes, he hate me, played for the Eagles and wore number 24 for a season. And Phillies' Roman Quinn, who couldn't hit the ball out of the infield, but would somehow always get base hits by doing it. But today we have 3 guys who are our number 24s. And first we're going to start with Bobby Jones. Spent 8 years in Philly. He was the Secretary of Defense for the Sixers. He was an all-defensive first-team member 6 times. 2-time All-Star Game representative. His number 24 is retired in the Wells Fargo Center. He is a Hall of Famer and did win a championship with the Sixers in 1983. Next up, we have Sheldon Brown, who also played 8 years in Philly, 19 interceptions, 7 forced fumbles, 5 touchdowns for Sheldon, 3 interception returns and 2 fumble returns, 7 sacks, and obviously the biggest hit I've ever seen in my life was that hit in the playoff game on Reggie Bush down in New Orleans. So there you go, Sheldon. And then finally, we have Mike Lieberthal, 13 years with the Phillies, 150 home runs, a 275 average, 2-time representative for the Phillies in the All-Star Game, 609 career RBIs. He is in the Phillies Wall of Fame. Did win a Gold Glove, and I think he was a victim of just the timing of things. Some of the other catchers in the National League he played against, Mike Piazza, Jason Kendall, Javi Lopez, they were all really, really good, especially Piazza, who's a Hall of Famer. So I think he was a victim just sort of the timing there. But now it's your turn. Who wore number 24 the best for Philadelphia? Is it Bobby Jones of the Sixers, Sheldon Brown of the Eagles, or Mike Lieberthal of the Phillies? Get your votes into me and let me know. On this day back in 1976, the Phillies clinched their first ever National League East title by winning the first game of the doubleheader against the Expos, and then for good measure, they won the second. Hopefully, this is a sign and an omen that the Phillies clinched that playoff spot and that top wildcard spot tonight. That would be great. Good win for the Birds. Time to rest up and get ready for Washington. Hopefully Jalen and everybody else. I think Jason Kelsey said everybody was feeling a little sick. It was something that was going around. So hopefully that gets out of the building and they're ready for Washington on Sunday. Looking forward to that Phils game. And again, celebrate the Phils potential playoff clinching game, as well as the Eagles' victory by going to phillygoat.com and using the promo code Jim Montgomery. Get your votes in for number 24. I think it's supposed to stop raining today, and we might see some sun tomorrow, so that's a good thing. But try to enjoy your Tuesday. Remember to get maniacal with it. I'm Jim Montgomery. This is This Day in Philly Sports History. And until next time, I'll see you when I see you.